My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how I lost everything I loved and how a stranger changed my life forever. I was 25 years old when my world fell apart. I lived in a small apartment with my husband Tom and our beautiful daughter Emma, who was only 3 years old. Tom worked at a factory and I worked part-time at a local bakery. We didn't have much money, but we were happy. Emma's laughter filled our home every day, and Tom always made me smile, even when times were hard. Everything changed on a cold winter morning. Tom was driving to work when a truck hit his car. The doctor at the hospital looked at me with sad eyes and said, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Johnson. Your husband didn't survive." Those words felt like a knife in my heart. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. My world became dark and empty. The weeks after Tom's funeral were terrible. I couldn't work because I was too sad to leave my bed. Emma kept asking, "Where's Daddy? When is Daddy coming home?" I didn't know how to answer her. I cried every night, and during the day, I felt like a ghost walking through my own life. Without Tom's income, I couldn't pay our bills. The letters from the bank came every day. "Pay your rent," they said. "Pay or leave." I looked for work everywhere, but nobody wanted to hire someone who cried during interviews. My savings became smaller and smaller until there was nothing left. One morning, there was a loud knock on our door. 2 men in suits stood outside. "Mrs. Johnson," one of them said, "you have 3 days to leave this apartment. You haven't paid rent for 2 months." I begged them to give me more time. "Please," I said, "I have a small daughter. Where can we go?" But they didn't care. They just walked away, leaving me with a paper that said we had to leave. That night, I packed our few belongings into 2 old suitcases. Emma watched me with her big, confused eyes. "Are we going on a trip, Mommy?" she asked. I couldn't tell her the truth, that we had nowhere to go. On our last day in the apartment, I looked around at the place where we had been so happy. Emma's drawings were still on the refrigerator. Tom's coffee cup was still on the kitchen table. I wanted to take everything, but I could only carry what fit in our suitcases. We walked to the bus station with our bags. I had $50 in my pocket, all the money I had left in the world. The weather was getting colder, and Emma's thin jacket wasn't warm enough. I bought bus tickets to the next city, hoping to find work and a place to stay. But in the new city, nobody wanted to rent an apartment to a woman with no job and no money. Hotel rooms were too expensive. For 3 nights, Emma and I slept on benches in the train station. I used my coat as a blanket for her, and I stayed awake all night to keep her safe. Emma started to get sick. She had a fever and couldn't stop coughing. I was so scared. I took her to the hospital, but without insurance, they could only give her basic medicine. The doctor said, "She needs rest, warm food, and a warm place to sleep." I had no idea how to give her these things. On our 4th night with nowhere to go, it started to rain. Emma and I stood under a small roof outside a closed shop. She was shivering in my arms, and her cough was getting worse. I felt like the worst mother in the world. I had failed to protect my daughter. "I'm cold, Mommy," Emma whispered. "And I'm hungry." I looked in my purse. I had $12 left. $12 to keep us alive. I bought a small bottle of milk and some bread from a night shop. Emma drank the milk slowly, and I gave her most of the bread. I pretended I wasn't hungry, but my stomach hurt from not eating. That night, as Emma slept in my arms under the small roof, I thought about giving up. Maybe Emma would be better with another family, a family who could take care of her properly. Maybe I should call social services and let them find her a good home. The thought broke my heart, but I felt so helpless. Just then, an old man walked toward us. He was about 60 years old, with gray hair and kind eyes. He wore simple clothes and carried a small bag. I was scared at first. On the streets, you learn to be careful of strangers. "Excuse me," he said gently. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" I didn't want to talk to him, but Emma's cough made me desperate. "We're fine," I lied. He looked at Emma, who was shivering even in her sleep. "No," he said quietly. "You're not fine. My name is Robert. I run a small shelter not far from here. You and your daughter can stay there tonight." I didn't trust him. "Why would you help us? You don't even know us." Robert smiled sadly. "Many years ago, I was homeless too. A stranger helped me when I had nothing. Now, I try to help others." He looked at Emma again. "Your daughter needs a warm bed and hot food. Please, let me help you." I was too tired and scared to say no. We followed Robert through the dark streets to a small building. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean and warm. There were about 10 beds, and a few other people were sleeping there. "This bed is for you and your daughter," Robert said, pointing to a corner bed. "There are clean blankets in that box. The bathroom is over there. In the morning, we have breakfast at 7 o'clock." I couldn't believe someone was being so kind to us. "Thank you," I whispered. "But I don't have money to pay you." "You don't need money here," Robert said. "Just rest. We'll talk tomorrow." That night, Emma and I slept in a real bed for the first time in days. Emma's fever went down, and her cough got better. I slept deeply for the first time since Tom died. In the morning, Robert made breakfast for everyone in the shelter: eggs, toast, and hot coffee. Emma smiled for the first time in weeks as she ate the warm food. Seeing her smile made my heart feel lighter. "What's your story?" Robert asked as we sat at the kitchen table. I told him everything about Tom's accident, about losing our home, about having no money or job. Robert listened without judging me. When I finished talking, he was quiet for a moment. "I have an idea," he said finally. "I know a woman named Mrs. Davis who owns a small restaurant. She needs someone to help in the kitchen and serve customers. The pay isn't much, but it's honest work. Would you be interested?" I couldn't believe it. "Yes," I said quickly. "Yes, I would love to work." "There's one problem," Robert continued. "She needs someone who can start immediately, and you need someone to watch Emma during the day." My heart sank. I had no one to take care of Emma, and I couldn't afford to pay for childcare. "But," Robert said with a smile, "my wife Margaret runs a small daycare center in our home. Emma can stay there during the day while you work. Margaret loves children, and she only asks for a small payment, much less than other places." I started to cry, but this time they were tears of hope. "Why are you doing this for us?" I asked. "Why do you care about strangers?" Robert's eyes became distant. 20 years ago, my wife and I lost our only son in a car accident. After that, we lost our home because I couldn't work. I was too sad and angry. We lived on the streets for 6 months. Then a kind woman gave us a chance to start over. She helped me find work and gave us a place to live until we could afford our own home. He paused and looked at Emma, who was coloring with crayons he had given her. "We never had more children, but we decided to help other families instead. When I see you with your daughter, I remember how hard it was for us. No child should be cold or hungry. No mother should feel hopeless." That afternoon, Robert took me to meet Mrs. Davis at her restaurant. She was a friendly woman in her 50s who spoke with a strong accent. Her restaurant was small but busy, with delicious smells coming from the kitchen. "Robert told me about your situation," she said kindly. I need help and you need work. Can you cook simple food? Can you be polite to customers? Yes, I said. I worked in a bakery before and I love cooking. I'll work very hard. Good. You can start tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. I'll pay you $8 an hour to start. If you work well, I'll give you more money later. $8 an hour wasn't much, but it was enough to slowly build a new life. I felt grateful and hopeful for the first time in months. The next morning, I took Emma to Margaret's daycare. Margaret was a warm, grandmother-like woman who immediately fell in love with Emma. Don't worry about your daughter, she told me. She'll be safe and happy here. At the restaurant, I worked harder than I had ever worked in my life. I cooked breakfast, served coffee, cleaned tables, and washed dishes. Mrs. Davis was patient with me as I learned her system. The other workers were friendly and helped me when I made mistakes. After 2 weeks, Mrs. Davis called me aside. Sarah, she said, you're a very good worker. I want to give you more hours and more money. How would you feel about becoming my assistant manager? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Yes, I said immediately. Thank you so much. With the extra money, I was able to rent a small apartment near the restaurant. It was tiny, just 1 bedroom and a small kitchen, but it was ours. Emma was so excited to have her own home again. We went to secondhand stores and bought cheap furniture. Emma helped me paint her bedroom walls bright yellow, her favorite color. Every month, our life got a little better. Emma started going to a good school near our apartment. She made friends and joined the school choir. Her teacher said she was very smart and loved to learn new things. Watching Emma become happy and confident again was the greatest joy of my life. After 6 months at the restaurant, Mrs. Davis offered to make me the general manager. You understand this business, she said. You care about the customers and the food. I trust you to run this place. The new position came with enough money for us to move to a bigger apartment and for me to start saving money again. 1 year after Robert found us on the street, Emma and I went back to visit him at the shelter. He was cooking dinner for the homeless people staying there, just like he had done for us. Look how tall Emma has grown, he said with a big smile. And Sarah, you look so different, so strong and happy. It's because of you, I told him. You saved our lives. How can I ever thank you enough? You already have, Robert said. You took the help I offered, and you worked hard to build a new life. That's the best way to thank someone, by making their help matter. Emma ran up to Robert and gave him a big hug. Thank you for helping my mommy and me, she said in her sweet voice. Robert's eyes filled with tears. You're very welcome, little one. That night, as I tucked Emma into her own bed in our own apartment, she asked me a question that made me think deeply. Mommy, why was Mr. Robert so nice to us? He didn't even know us. I sat on her bed and thought about how to explain it. Sometimes, I said, people help others because they remember what it feels like to need help. Mr. Robert was sad and alone once, just like we were. When someone helped him, he decided to help other people too. Will I help people when I grow up? Emma asked. If you want to, I said. Helping others is one of the most beautiful things a person can do. Now, 3 years later, Emma is 7 years old and doing wonderfully in school. She wants to be a teacher when she grows up, so she can help children learn. I still work at Mrs. Davis's restaurant, and I've saved enough money to start planning for Emma's college education. But the most important thing I do is volunteer at Robert's shelter every weekend. I cook meals for homeless families and help them find jobs and apartments. When I see mothers with young children who have nowhere to go, I remember exactly how they feel. I tell them what Robert told me. This is temporary. Things can get better. Don't give up hope. Last month, I helped a young father named David who had lost his job and his home. He had two small sons and was sleeping in his car. I gave him information about jobs and helped him apply to several places. 2 weeks later, he called to tell me he had been hired at a construction company. His family now has an apartment, and his children are back in school. "How can I thank you?" David asked me. I smiled and gave him the same answer Robert had given me. "You already have. You took the help and worked hard to build a new life. That's the best way to thank someone." I've learned that the worst things in life can sometimes lead to the most beautiful discoveries. I discovered that there are good people in the world who help strangers without expecting anything back. I discovered that I'm stronger than I ever thought I could be. Most importantly, I discovered that helping others heal helps heal yourself too. When I was sitting under that roof in the rain with Emma in my arms, I thought our story was ending. I thought we had lost everything that mattered. But really, our story was just beginning. We had lost our old life, but we found something better. A life filled with gratitude, purpose, and the knowledge that kindness can change everything. Emma still asks about her daddy sometimes, and I tell her that he would be proud of the strong, kind girl she has become. I tell her that he would be proud of how we helped each other survive the hardest time of our lives. Tom will always be in our hearts, but we've learned to carry our love for him into our new life instead of letting our sadness stop us from living. We've learned that losing everything doesn't mean the end of your story. Sometimes it means the beginning of a better one. Every day, I'm grateful for that rainy night when Robert found us. I'm grateful that he chose to help instead of walking past. I'm grateful that there are people like him in the world, and I'm grateful that I get to be one of those people now too. If you're reading this story and you're going through a hard time, please remember, this is temporary. There are people who want to help. Don't give up hope. Your better life might be just around the corner, waiting for you to be brave enough to accept help from a stranger who cares.